Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And although I said I was going to tell a lot of stories on here this week, which I am, I'm going to tell some stories on here this week, I want to do a meditation today because the two meditations that I'm going to read are so positive and so uplifting, and they really helped me when I read them. I was talking about them on my vlog last night, so they kind of even really helped me get unstuck, so to speak. So I want to read them on here today and talk about that. I'm also going to talk about gratitude at the end of this video because I had shared in my previous video that being that it's November and often people celebrate gratitude the entire month of November, every video that I make on this channel, I'm going to talk about one thing that I am specifically grateful for. So I will get into that at the end of the video. But before that, I want to say, I have recently gotten some messages and some questions about my Dear Peter series on here. And I haven't done it in, I don't know, probably a month and a half, 2 months on here. And what it was a series where people would send me emails, questions, and I would just give some advice based on life experience. It was very simple. You know, like kind of just one of those, you know, Dear So-and-so columns in the newspaper or in your favorite magazine. So, if you have a question that you would like me to give some life experience advice on, email it to me. The email is listed below, and your question might be picked for that series, which I'm going to start doing on Fridays again. So, I will also say this. If you want to remain anonymous, put that in the email. And if there are things in your email that you don't want me to include or read out loud, let me know too, because I usually read the whole email and then just respond to it. So, all right, let's get into today's meditation, which there are actually two. In the last video that I did, there were two on that one as well. And it is from Melody Beatty's Journey to the Heart, Daily Meditations on the Path to Freeing Your Soul. One of the questions I get on a regular basis, and I talked about this in my vlog actually today because I was vlogging earlier, is what are meditation books that people can read that are not recovery driven? Like if you're not an addict or an alcoholic in recovery. And, you know, I would say that most of the meditation books that I read on here are books that anybody could read, you know. And most of Melody Beatty's books, when she's talking about recovery, she's not always just talking about addicts and alcoholics. She's talking about people in recovery from codependency. So, but I do want to say this, that this book, and I will list it below, is probably one of the better options if you're looking for a meditation book that isn't just about addiction or doesn't have much of that in there, because she doesn't really reference much of that in here. In fact, let me read you the back of it. Writing with the same warmth, honesty, and compassion, this is starting to feel like a book review, and compassion that has attracted such a loyal following, Melody Beatty now charts a new path towards spiritual growth and renewal. In 365 insightful and delightfully warm daily reflections, a journey to the heart will comfort and inspire us all as we begin to discover our true purpose in the world and learn to connect even more deeply with ourselves, the creative force, and the magic and mystery in the world around and within us. And there she is. So anyway, this is probably a really good choice. I will say this, and it gets really deep on some level in many of the meditations. So if you're looking for something a little simpler, something that's a little bit more simple, Linda Picone's The Book of Positive Quotations is fantastic, and I will list that below as well. And I have read that book many times on this channel. So I want to get in here today and I want to read the fourth and the fifth, and I actually read both of them yesterday. And if you watch my vlog, I talked in there about how I was kind of feeling stuck, and all of a sudden, like, I went and I got a gym membership, and I got real motivated, and I feel unstuck now. And I came home, and these were two of the meditations that I read later in the day, and they really resonated with me. So I want to read them to you because I think that I think they'll probably help at least one person out there and see things in a different way. I will say this, that I talked yesterday on my vlog for a long time about having been in kind of a slump and coming out of that. And these meditations, I don't know, sometimes like when I hear a meditation, and I know so many of you like comment in the comment section below, like I needed to hear this today. Like this was the one that I needed to hear today. But you know, there are so many meditations that I read that I'm just like, is this like a God moment? Like I needed to hear this today. Like I needed to read this meditation today. And that's what happened yesterday. And I also think that it was reading both of them together. And you know, many times when I pick up the meditation books, I'll read the one for that day, but if it doesn't really resonate with me, I'll just kind of like randomly pick something, you know? And like this one from April 20th is Loving Yourself Will Make It Better, and that is true. There's not one thing in this meditation book that's not uplifting, probably. Okay, let me get a sip of coffee, get your coffee out, your tea. your water, your juice, whatever. November 4th, move on to joy. Are you willing to be here in constant, abject pain 1 minute longer? I'm not. Are you willing to be here suffering endlessly and needlessly through distressing situations, worrying, fussing, fretting about things you can do nothing about? I'm not. And we don't have to be. We're here to feel joy and absorb all of life's beauty we can. If pain comes, let it pass quickly through. Then move on to joy. It's a conscious choice. That meditation, although short, is so profound. And I want to read it again to you guys because I loved this. Are you willing to be here? Are you willing? Okay, it's a conscious choice, like she says at the end. Are you willing to be here in constant, abject pain 1 minute longer? I'm not. Are you willing to be here suffering endlessly and needlessly through distressing situations, worrying, fussing, fretting about things you can do nothing about? I'm not. And we don't have to be. We're here to feel joy and absorb all of life's beauty we can. If pain comes, let it pass quickly through. Then move on to joy. It's a conscious choice. It's a choice. I love that. Okay. I know there's a lot of people that are out there that are really suffering. They're like, well, it doesn't feel like a choice to me. And I think that often, we have to really look at the things in our lives that, there's a lot of things, mental illness, physical illness, there's a lot of things that we cannot control, okay? That is not a choice. But I think the other stuff, the worrying, the fretting, those kinds of things for most of us on a day-to-day basis, it is a choice. It absolutely is a choice. Even though it may not feel like it, it is a choice. Okay, November 5th, create your destiny from your heart. Be aware of life's energy, moving, pushing, pulling, guiding you forward each moment of the day. And know each moment is your destiny. You are connected to and part of a mysterious, invisible life force. Let it guide you forward. Let it move you along. Clear yourself of all that blocks your connection to that life force, old emotions, old beliefs, remnants of the past. Listen to your heart. It will take you, move you to where you need to go. No, you cannot see as far ahead as you would like, as far ahead as you used to think you could. That is because you have undertaken the journey to your heart. Seeing would prevent you from listening, trusting, opening to the magical guidance that comes from within. You would confuse things, think you had to control, manage, and make things happen. You would confound yourself with the illusions of the past. You would become afraid. Stay in the present moment. Listen to your inner guidance. Trust the wisdom of your heart. Feel the life force guiding you, moving you forward. Go where it leads. Embrace your destiny. Know you help create it by what you choose each step of the way. Let your choices come from your heart. I love that meditation. And, one of the things I love in there, when it talks in here about you're connected to and part of a mysterious, invisible life force. Let it guide you forward. Let it move you along. Clear yourself of all that blocks your connection to that life force. Old emotions, old beliefs, remnants of the past. And part of what she's talking about there is passion for living and passion for doing something new and passion about getting excited about things. And that's something else I also talked about in my vlog last night, And then the other thing in there that she talks about is staying in the present moment, listening to your inner guidance. Trust the wisdom of your heart. Feel the life force guiding you, moving you forward. Go where it leads. It doesn't say anything about higher power or God in this meditation. And I think that's really important for people out there that really struggle with that concept and want to have a feeling of spirituality, but they don't want to, be segmented into a certain area or belief system. And what this is basically saying here is float with the river of life, like I talk about on this channel a lot, Just go with the flow. Stay in the present moment. Enjoy life on a daily basis. It's really that easy. And yet even myself, I make it so confusing at times, where I'm like, but what about this? But what about that? What about this? It's like, don't borrow trouble. It's one of the things that my mom used to say to me all the time. Every day that I would see her for probably the last 5 years of her life, she would say, don't borrow trouble, just don't borrow trouble. In fact, back in the day on my meditations, I used to talk about that on there. That was one of the things that she would say. And I think it's really important to remember that, to stay in the present. And I think also we often have a cynical outlook on what life has for us or what's going to happen. And that's all based on those obstacles from our past that it talks about in here. Old emotions, old beliefs, remnants of the past. Well, those old beliefs, those old emotions, and those remnants of the past are what forms our fear for what is going to happen in the future. If we stay in the moment and we just float with the river of life, then the past is not being allowed to, as an obstacle, it's not being allowed to play out in our future, because we're just enjoying, we're growing, we're moving, and we're becoming a better person on a daily basis. We're learning new things, we're growing, we're evolving over time, and isn't that what we want? I love these meditations, these are fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about gratitude for a second. You know, every day that I get up, and I talked the other day about my life, and I talked about my health on here the other day and how those are really important. One of the other things that I'm extremely grateful for that I talk about whenever I do videos, or I've written about reading, I've talked about this a lot on my blog actually, reading Rhonda Byrne's book, Magic, and it's like 40 days or 30 days. I was gonna actually do the whole thing on here, and then I bought the book again because I had it, but I think I had given it to somebody, and the month that I did it, I felt like incredible. In fact, I should actually pull it out and do it that's what I should do. I should do it this month. But in there, she does a whole thing about food, and she talks about when you're eating a meal that you go through, and like each day is a day of like gratitude, and really what she believes in is that like gratitude is the magic way of life, right? Which it is. And so anyway, she does this whole thing that when you're sitting down and you're eating a meal, you don't just sit down there and you eat, like, let's say, you know, I don't know, a Big Mac and fries, right? If you're sitting at McDonald's, you think about, you go all the way back to who grew the food, and the person that processed it, and the person that made it, all the way to the person that, you know, sold it to you and gave it to you, the window of McDonald's, and this huge process that it took for all this food to be sitting on your plate so that you could be eating it or in front of you, right? And you're grateful for that whole process, and you're grateful to your higher power for being able to eat this food and have food to eat and something to drink and clean water and all of that. And then you sprinkle this like magic dust over the food, supposedly, right? Like it's your way of like really paying homage to all that came for this meal to be sitting in front of you. So one of the things that I say on a daily basis is, you know, I thank my higher power for all of the food that is available to me, and all, you know, clean water, which I think is something that we don't often recognize in certain parts of the world. There is absolutely no clean water, you know, and as well as other things to drink, like, you know, coffee, to be able to just drive through Starbucks and get a coffee. So I'm very grateful for those things, and even though some of those things sound like the Starbucks sounds superficial, it's not, you know. Those are things that I take for granted when I just drive through there and get a coffee, you know. So on a daily basis, I try to be really, really conscious and grateful for food, clean water, things to drink, and the ability to enjoy those with other people in my life as well. So list below things that you're grateful for today. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.